It is Friday, and that means that it's time to answer the question of the week. Will the 49ers beat the Miami Dolphins? Well, the good news is that the article is already up. Here it is. 49ers and Dolphins predictions. Defense doesn't view this as a measuring stick game. It is on The Athletic, and the link is now in the chat section. So go ahead and check it out. That's what we're going to talk about today. 49ers Dolphins. It's a showdown. There are a lot of showdowns in the NFL this weekend. NFL Red Zone is going to be very, very popular, but I know for 49ers and Dolphins fans who are watching this, you'll be locked in exclusively on this game in all likelihood. Some of you probably care more about your fantasy team than your actual team, but I can't help you with that. This is not a fantasy show. This is a show to talk about whether or not the 49ers mano a mano are going to be able to beat the Dolphins. So those of you familiar with the show know that we go through 5 keys ahead of games like this. Key 1 will be to control the middle of the field, especially in the context of the short and intermediate game. And this goes both ways. It starts with the 49ers on offense against the Dolphins defense. The 49ers offense, short game DVOA, defense adjusted value over average from Football Outsiders. That's an advanced measurement of efficiency. On passes that travel less than 15 air yards, the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo rank number 1 in the NFL offensively. Meanwhile, Miami, their defense against those types of short passes ranks number 29 defensively. So controlling the short game, middle of the field, that's something that the 49ers offense should have an advantage in against Miami. And I think if they perpetuate that advantage, they'll be well on their way to controlling this football game. And they probably need to control this advantage because on the other side of the football, Tua Tagovailoa is elite targeting the intermediate middle. He targets the intermediate middle more than any other quarterback in the NFL by a massive margin. That's how Miami uses its speed with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They're going to run a lot of crossers. They're going to run a lot of action trying to capitalize on the middle of the field because that is where McDaniel offenses are more efficient. There's a reason why the 49ers also attack the middle of the field with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's because Mike McDaniel used to design their offense. But anyway, Tua's elite targeting the middle. Guess what? Fred Warner, 49ers middle linebacker, is elite in defending the intermediate middle of the field. No team is better at attacking the intermediate middle of the field than the Dolphins, and no team is better than defending the intermediate middle of the field than the Fred Warner 49ers. So who wins that battle? Controlling the middle of the field, especially in the context of the short to intermediate game, that's going to determine this football game. Now, it might come out to be a stalemate, right? The 49ers' number 1 pass game DVOA on short passes might actually hold true against Miami's bottom ranked, or not bottom ranked, but close to bottom ranked defense against short passes. And Tua's elite ability to produce to Jalen Waddle and to Tyreek Hill and company might also come true. And in that case, you would have a shootout. And in that case, we have to move on to the other keys in this game to determine who has a better chance of winning it. So key number 2, stop the run to position the pass rush versus a weakened Miami offensive front. Mike McDaniel just got done with his Friday press conference, and he ruled out Austin Jackson, who's the starting Dolphins right tackle. So Miami will be on at least 1 backup offensive tackle. They might be on 2 backup offensive tackles, and they will at least be compromised at the left tackle spot. Mike McDaniel did not rule out star left tackle Teron Armstead, who has a torn pectoral muscle. But if Armstead does play, if McDaniel is not just bluffing about this, then he'll be playing with that torn pec against Nick Bosa and company, which I think would be a big advantage for the 49ers if they can set themselves up to take advantage of it. If Miami is able to run the ball with Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert, then the 49ers will have much less of an opportunity to pin their ears back and try to get Tua Tagovailoa in straight drop back situations in the pass game. So it is absolutely imperative for the 49ers to A, stop the run, and B, being able to, take advantage of Miami's compromised offensive line situation is also going to come down to key 1, and that's controlling the middle of the field because Miami's going to go quick game. Tua Tagovailoa averages 2.6 seconds from snap to release. That's number 6 in NFL, the 6th fastest in the NFL. The quick game, they love using the middle of the field in that quick game. That's where Fred Warner comes in. Fred Warner, D'Amico Ryans, the entire 49ers defense. We're talking guys from Jimmy Ward to Talanoa Hufanga to the cornerbacks. They're going to have to be in lockstep. They're going to have to be on their P's and their Q's to dissuade Miami from going to that short game well all the time. They can go to it some of the time, but they can't go to it all the time, because if they go to the short game well all the time, Nick Bosa will not have a chance to get to Tua Tagovailoa against these backup offensive tackles. So coverage must fuel rush for the 49ers, and run defense must fuel the pass rush for the 49ers as well, because there is a weakness with Miami on that offensive front. Now, even when you do beat the offensive front, Tua Tagovailoa is really, really good at moving his body, adjusting within the pocket. He's not much of a running threat. He's only run for 35 yards this year. That seems to be a common misconception about Tua Tagovailoa. He looks to throw before he looks to run, but he is a movement threat. He can move within that pocket. He can wiggle around, and he can throw really well on the run. So it's all the more important for the 49ers, given that, to have a pass rush that's operating on their terms. They could be disciplined with all 4 men to converge the pocket around Tua Tagovailoa and make life difficult for him. Why do you need to make life difficult for Tua? Well, here's why. Look how good Tua Tagovailoa has been this season. Number 1 in EPA per dropback, number 1 in DVOA, number 1 in adjusted net yards per attempt, number 5 in completion percentage above expectation, number 1 in QBR, and as I said, number 6 in time to throw. How does that compare to other quarterbacks? We'll take a look at this. Tua is at the top of the list in all of these efficiency categories, and he's at the top of the list by a lot. Look at adjusted net yards per attempt right here. 9.18. This includes interceptions and touchdown passes in the formula. He's over a full yard ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who's number 2. Jimmy Garoppolo's number 3 at 7.6. Not that far behind Patrick Mahomes, right? 1.2 yards, nearly 1.2 yards separate Tagovailoa and Mahomes here. EPA per play, Tagovailoa, that's an insane number, 0.400. Ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who's a lot ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Garoppolo's quite a bit ahead of everybody else. DVOA, 48.7% above average for Tua. Mahomes is 28.5%, so he's a full 20 points ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Look, Mahomes is barely ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo in DVOA, 28.5 to 27.2. It is just an entire leap. A leap and a bound to get to Tua. That's how much better he's been. Or how about this? 10 points ahead of Patrick Mahomes in passer rating. And Mahomes is not number 2. It looks like Geno Smith, 107.9, is number 2. You could sort this chart either way that you want if you go up on The Athletic. So again, check out the preview on The Athletic. But this just shows you how good Tua's been. But by extension, it should also show you how good Jimmy Garoppolo's been. Why don't I open it up one more time? Jimmy Garoppolo is number 3 in adjusted net yards per attempt. He's number 3 in DVOA. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's been a top 5 quarterback this year. You can even argue he's been a top 3 quarterback this year because he's been improving as the season's gone along since he didn't have an off season. But the point is that the Dolphins have the top passing efficiency in the game, and it's really going to test the 49ers defense. But the 49ers, you know, they are no slouches in comparison. Jimmy Garoppolo has been entrusted to cook, right, over the past 2 weeks. Kyle Shanahan, this is the most pass happy that the 49ers attack has ever been. And because of that, the 49ers are in better position to outscore some of these teams that are coming in threatening to put a lot of points on the board. If you look at Miami's DVOA profile, blue is good, red is bad. It's all about really good offense for the Miami Dolphins and suspect defense for the Miami Dolphins, right? There's some red here. And the main red comes in pass defense. That is number 25 in pass defense for the Dolphins. Obviously, they do also have a bad special teams unit, so we'll see if that comes into play. But pass defense for the Dolphins, that has been the Achilles heel, and they've been number 29 against short passes, and that is where the 49ers are number 1. All right, moving on to key number 3. For the 49ers, win the turnover battle. If you're the 49ers, this is, I think, of utmost importance in any game. It's extremely correlated with winning. But in this one, you know, this could turn into a game where both teams are in the upper 20s, maybe even the 30s. because that's what the NFL sometimes dictates, right? And we have two very capable offenses. So if that's the case, you can't be wasting possessions. You have to win the turnover battle. The 49ers, of course, committed a bad interception against the Chiefs in the red zone. That started to derail them. They hung in that game until the fourth quarter, but if you win the takeaway giveaway battle, you're going to give yourself more chances, and not only that, you're going to give yourself some wind at the sails, right? The most devastating play in football to team morale seems to be an interception or a fumble. And the biggest boost to a team seems to be an interception that you attain or a fumble that you recover. Look no further than last week's game against New Orleans at the goal line. So winning the turnover battle, that's always a key. In this game, I'm going to emphasize it even more because these two teams are really good, the Dolphins and the 49ers, and they may go possession by possession. Key 4, win the kitchen sink battle. What do I mean by that? Well, by that, I mean that in the kitchen sink battle, you're going to have the coaching staffs going after each other. Miami's got a ton of former 49ers players, and they also have a ton of former 49ers coaches. Mike McDaniel being one of them. John Embry, former 49ers tight ends coach, being another one of them. Wes Welker, former 49ers receivers coach, being in there. And you also have former 49ers players on the Dolphins coaching staff. Aldrick Robinson, former Niners receiver from the start of the Shanahan era. He is an offensive assistant. And Mike Person, the starting right guard on the 2019 Super Bowl team for the 49ers, is also an offensive assistant for the Dolphins. Anyway, when coaching staffs know each other, they're going to try to throw the kitchen sink at each other. So who wins the kitchen sink battle? Does McDaniel win it with a lot of his creative play calling, or does Kyle Shanahan reach deeper into his bag to school his former assistant? While we're on the topic of Mike McDaniel, why don't we talk about the Miami look of Mike McDaniel? I just love this right here. This is what Mike McDaniel looked like earlier in his tenure with the 49ers, and he has gone the full Mark Anthony makeover now with the Miami Dolphins. Miami, I mean, you got to have the style to do it in Miami, and Mike McDaniel has gone from this to this. Now, that's not Mike McDaniel on the left. That's Mark Anthony. That's the pop singer. Mike McDaniel's in the Dolphins gear at the right. So Mike McDaniel's got that swag in Miami, and it's definitely carrying over to some success on the playing field. So against that guy, that Kyle Shanahan needs to win the kitchen sink battle because Mike McDaniel's going to bring his best, and Kyle Shanahan is going to try to as well. We'll see who actually does bring his best. Key 5, and this is going to be an injury discussion in general. Ride the Armstead situation in your favor if you're the 49ers. I didn't mention which Armstead on purpose because we have a big Armstead situation on both sides. Teron Armstead, star Dolphins left tackle. If they don't have him or if he's playing with a torn pectoral muscle, that's a potentially big advantage for the 49ers. And I talked in keys 1 and 2 about how the 49ers can position themselves to exploit that advantage. Well, key 2 is that Eric Armstead confirmed to me yesterday that he will be playing in this football game for the 49ers. They're going to get him for the first time since early October against the Rams. And Eric Armstead is a massive difference maker. He fuels the interior pass rush. He obviously is also a great run stopper. And that's somebody that the 49ers might really need in this football game. Think about this, too. If Tua likes to attack the middle of the field, we always consider Fred Warner to be the big-time middle of the field defender. But Eric Armstead is 6'7" with a massive wingspan. And if he's playing defensive tackle and getting his hands up in the air, that closes throwing lanes. That impacts the way that Miami might be able to attack the middle of the field. I think Armstead's return for the 49ers is potentially huge in this football game. Now, there are other injury situations that we've been tracking, but Christian McCaffrey essentially confirmed that he'll play for the 49ers. Charles Omenihu confirmed that he'll play for the 49ers. I think they'll have Spencer Burford. The one player in question for San Francisco is Deebo Samuel, and that might be moving to doubt. Kyle Shanahan on KMBR on Friday morning mentioned that Deebo Samuel would have to do something on Friday in practice to have a chance to be a game time decision. If you have to do something just to have a chance to be a game time decision, it's not likely that you're going to play. So I would classify Deebo Samuel as doubtful in my book. Maybe he'll become questionable on the injury report on Friday, but it seems like he's trending toward doubtful. And that's a blow for the 49ers because they've been operating a goal of making Deebo and Christian McCaffrey interchangeable, right? Running back, slot, wide out, whatever. That makes it tough for opposing defenses to know what's coming. If you only have one of these guys, it's a lot tougher to flummox opposing defenses. The good news for the 49ers is that they didn't have a player like Deebo Samuel against the Rams, right? When they played them about a month ago. And the Rams have a good defense. And the 49ers still dropped 30 plus on the Rams, thanks to Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and company. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if the 49ers didn't have Deebo Samuel because they've layered talent on the offensive end. And hey, let's be honest. Miami is weak defensively. They're number 25 defensively. This is not a balanced two-way team, and the 49ers are a balanced two-way team. It's about slowing the Miami offense if you're the 49ers, and then using your own offense if you're the 49ers to outscore the Dolphins. So that brings us back to the original question. Will the 49ers beat the Dolphins? The answer is yes, the 49ers will beat the Dolphins. They are a two-way team, and Miami isn't. Stay tuned for the score prediction. For the time being, if you want to see the score prediction a little bit earlier, make sure that you do subscribe to The Athletic and to this article. I'm going to put it into the chat section one more time. But the 49ers will beat the Dolphins. That is the call right here. Score prediction coming in a video later, but please do subscribe to The Athletic. Anyway, hope you enjoy the game and this 15-minute preview of it. I hope everybody goes out and has a wonderful Friday. Thank you all for watching and hope that you enjoyed the 1080p. That was a little surprise for you today. It was requested yesterday. This is in full 1080p. Hopefully it worked out well. All right, everybody take care. Thanks for watching.